near side, dangles around the defender, shoots, big blocker save. And now we're going to get some fisticuffs thrown around here.
Back with another fresh episode of the Blizz Show podcast. So last week we had an Illinois native, Johnny Johnson, the 17-year-old. We got a guy who's 3 years older, and he hasn't even stepped foot on the ice this year. We'll get into why you had the back surgery, but how in the world are you show up to practice every daggone day, and you're sitting out there on the bench, and you're watching your friends go out there, and you're just like, how can I not be out there right now?
Yeah, no, it's miserable. The only reason I'm doing it is because, I'm coming back second half, so I'm pretty excited about being around the boys. And
Yep, you'll be back in December, and fans will definitely be spoiled and be excited when you come back because your speed is just it's killer from what I heard, even though I haven't seen you actually skate. So we're looking forward to having you back on the ice. But let's kind of start with where you grew up in your childhood. So you grew up in Edwardsville, Illinois. Before we do get that, our podcast is brought to you by our friends out at H&R Block, so we appreciate their support for this podcast. Growing up in Edwardsville, Illinois. First of all, how far is that from Chicago?
It's about four hours.
Geez, I thought Naperville, Illinois is where Johnson grew up.
Yeah,
so I asked him straight, I said, how far is he? He said it's an hour. Okay, that's reasonable, but 4 hours is a little bit interesting. So Edwardsville, Illinois, what's the big thing to do there, or what was it like growing up there?
It was incredible growing up there. It's a big football town, so big football, basketball. We got a couple guys in the NFL.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like a sports city, but hockey kind of lacked. Southern Illinois hockey is not comparable to Minnesota or even Michigan, but it's we had a lot of good support there. So growing up there was awesome.
Is there anybody in the NHL that you know off the top of your head that is from Edwardsville off the top of your head?
No, a couple guys in the ECHL.
Okay, well maybe you can rewrite that script if you can get there.
Yeah.
We're all hoping for that. That's the ultimate goal here. But so obviously growing up in Illinois, you have the Blackhawks at your disposal, the Bears, the Cubs, the White Sox, kind of sports teams to look up to, even though you're 4 hours away.
Yeah.
And you're also closer to Missouri. From I hear you're a St. Louis Blues fan more than anything. So growing up in Illinois and looking at the Blues and examples, just kind of describe for me the things that you liked the most about growing up in Illinois, to get a little specific.
Okay. Well, a lot of my family lives there, so I've always had close family ties, and some of my best friends have lived in Illinois whenever I was there.
Okay.
And I grew up Blues fan, Cardinals fan, and St. Louis Rams fan until they left. But the sports, it's a huge sports city, I'm about 30 minutes from St. Louis, so it's just I've been a Cardinals fan, I've been a Blues fan. It's just it's easy to go to the games, get rowdy, it's a good city.
Who were your biggest mentors growing up? Inside the rink, outside the rink? Tell me a little bit about that.
I'd say definitely my grandpa. He calls me about every day. We talk. He's kind of who got my dad into hockey, and then my dad kind of coaches me up. But I'd say my grandpa, and then just my parents for paying for everything, and just I don't know. It's probably those three.
It definitely is hard to suffice what your parents do for you. I mean, I can attest to it because they've been great for me, and me being all over the place. I can completely attest how it's hard to find a word just to say thank you. But other than thank you, that's the big thing. But I want to focus on something you said. The first person you mentioned was your grandpa, and just kind of just describe for me and describe for the audience what your relationship is like with him and those phone calls you have with him. Maybe you text him before you go on the ice or before a game. It's like, hey, what do you got for me? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, he's very old-fashioned. He tells you how it is. Yeah. So I talk to him. I tell him how my life is. He's definitely a caring guy.
Yeah.
It's just hard for him to. I don't know. It's hard for him to talk. He's getting older, so it's kind of a nice relationship to have for sure. Yeah. But after a game, he'll call me and he'll critique me of what I did right, what I did wrong. So he knows the game of hockey. He coached Joe Vitale actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Who just
former Coyote.
Yeah,
I would know.
Coyote. Yeah.
But what last thing about your grandpa? I think I asked Johnson this question, and he mentioned how his grandparents have had an impact on his life. And, being 20 years old and being in the generation of kind of the younger millennium, if we so want to call that, how important is it, do you think, for guys at your age just to really have a strong foundational relationship with people like your grandparents?
I think it's huge because, half the stuff you learn from your grandparents and, because sometimes your parents can't be there. Yeah. So I learned a lot from, him and my grandma and just like working hard and, they just kind of have like a can-do attitude, and like every time I'm negative or something, he's always there to be positive. My grandma's there. Like it's, they're just, you just learn so much from, because they went through a different era than your parents went through. Yeah. And then you're going through a different era. So it's just nice to have that connection of, different eras and also, like the different family ties and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, it is good, and it definitely keeps you level grounded. So I think that's a very good thing for a 20-year-old to experience, and guys of our age to be able to have that relationship. So going away from your childhood and kind of going more toward high school now, describe what your high school experience was like in Illinois.
It's incredible. I loved going, every day to Edwardsville High School is where I went. I played hockey there 4 years for the varsity team. I think I'm like second in the club for goals or something like that. I never really cared too much about the accolades. We won the championship every year I was there. Wow. And then also I played St. Louis Selects. So that was the AAA team. So you played high school and then you played AAA because Southern Illinois hockey is, we went up to Chicago for tournaments, but you're not going to get seen – by a null scout or something. You might get seen by the not threat, like a null 3, but it's not good enough hockey to where you would, go to the null. So yeah. You kind of have to play, if you're serious about hockey, which I always was, you kind of have to play AAA too. Yeah. So you got your first big break, or just a big break if you want to call it that, by playing with the Madison Capitals of the North American Prospects League, which is the NAPHL. 2016, 2017. Yeah. Kind of describe what that relationship was like, your relationship with the city, with the coaching, and just kind of adjusting to the junior hockey game lifestyle. Yeah, no, it was the first time I ever lived away from home, so that was a huge adjustment. And right as soon as I was starting to practice there, I unfortunately broke my back. So it was a tough year to get through, but it literally only made me stronger, you know. So yeah. It's tough, isn't it? It was tough to think about, right? And we'll get to that back injury in just a little bit. But last season specifically with Brookings, you came here, you kind of jumped and ingratiated yourself with the city right away. So first of all, before we get into the actual play last year when you spent time on the ice in a Blizzard sweater, talk about what it was like when you first got here and just your initial thoughts of Brookings and what your relationship is like with the fans. Yeah, no, I really like the fans. They really care about their city and their team. We definitely have always a good crowd. And like in town, there's a lot of pride. People are happy to be from. It's a small town, but it's got it's got big city things. It's got nice stores. It's got nice restaurants. So I've really enjoyed my time in Brookings, and the people here have been great to me. Have the Billet family's been really good for you as well? Yeah. My Billet family is probably. They're amazing. Yeah. I literally look at them like a mom and a dad. So. Yeah, like a second family, basically. Yeah, for sure. Yep. So last year on the ice, you ended up coming and playing a few games with the Blizzard. Fans got to see your speed and your kind of style of play. Just describe what it was like last year, being able to be out on the ice and playing in front of the fans here at Larson Ice Center. Yeah, no, it was incredible. We had a pretty talented team last year, so I was rocking fourth line. Fourth, third line. I was just like a role guy, basically, just killing penalties and, doing whatever I could to be in the lineup every night. And, I played my heart out for the city of Brookings and all my teammates of last year. But I'm pretty excited to get things rolling this year. And that shows, obviously, fourth liner going willing to do anything. That shows you're here for a reason, even though you have a back injury right now. That shows that you're here for a reason. I think Mo Mantha sees that. So this year specifically, before we get into you and coming back from your injury, let's talk a little bit more about your injury. I know that's kind of tough to put into words exactly, but you suffered a back injury, you had back injury, and you told me you'd been playing with it for 2.5 years, which is just unfathomable to me. But describe what that process has been like, how in the world you're able to show up to the rink and stay motivated, and when you're in the gym, where does your motivation come from to get back on the ice? Man, my motivation comes from just always being counted out. So no one ever thought I would even make it to the null. From where I'm from, if you play hockey, you don't make it past high school. So, it's just like I have a good self-motivation. I've always had a good hunger. I'm always in the gym, always working, always running, and this back injury is just another thing like that. So I eventually had to I had 2 spinal breaks in my vertebrae, so I eventually had to get back surgery this summer. But once I come back, man, there's no telling. You know, we're gonna get things rolling.
Yep.
And me specifically, I think I'm gonna have a good year.
And I can attest to this kid's toughness because when we were in the Minnesota showcase and at the hotel right after film, I went into the fitness room when I was looking for the sauna actually in the hotel. He is in the fitness room, and he's sitting there. He's doing push-ups. He's doing sit-ups. He's on the treadmill. He's working his tail off, and he's in the hot tub relaxing, enjoying time with his team. It really goes to show why he's here, just the self-motivation. So you should be really proud of that, Tyler. This year specifically, when you get back onto the ice in December, I know it's hard to envision, and I know but it's also exciting.
Yeah.
But the first thing that's going to run through your mind when you finally are able to step on the ice, rocking the Blizzard sweater, when your name is announced over the PA system here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go crazy, man. I really just want the city of Brookings to know how much I love playing for, you know, the Blizz. I want every one of my teammates to know how much, you know, how hard I'm gonna go. It's just going to be incredible. Like, I literally have, you know, dreams. Like, I've been dreaming every night of my comeback and my first time being able to play. You know, it's the toughest thing in the world, having to watch your team play and knowing you could help and do something. But that's all just going to be added motivation to when I come back and just, man, it's going to be a fun time.
So when those who don't know, when you're out here in practice, you're out here for every game, how are you trying to incorporate yourself with the team, and what are you trying to do the most to stay ingratiated with your team?
I'm pretty hands off. I let the coach, you know, Mo Mantha and Devin Mantha, I let them, you know, do their thing. But if I see something, you know, a young guy especially is doing, we got a lot of young guys. So, you know, I just like to be in their ear a little bit, just be like a friend, not really like I'm better than them, but I have been in their shoes before, you know, and just, you know, more like a mentor role.
Yeah,
you know?
and you're 20 years old. You're a few years older than these guys, and I can understand that, so that makes a lot of sense. But this year when you get back and you're out there, we talked about what it's going to be like when your name is announced over the PA system, but when you finally are out there and you've gotten yourself comfortable on the ice, what are your biggest goals for this year when you come back, besides winning a Robertson Cup, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, my goal, first off, is just to make the playoffs. That's my first goal because the city of Brookings and the Blizzard have never won a playoff series. So my goal that's my first goal right there, is to make sure we make the playoffs, win a couple series, and get rolling. But my personal goals are, you know, just I just had a tough year last year playing with I had a separated shoulder halfway through, and then I had the broken back the whole year. So I felt like, you know, and I didn't really bury like I should have.
Yeah.
I really could have had a lot more points. So I'm hoping to, you know, really just come back and put points up, you know, be a good playmaker, but also be able to finish my chances. And I think that'll really help the team.
And you specifically told me you like to compare your game a little bit to Michael Grabner. And that, I will tell you, is a terrific comparison because I'm a big-time Coyote fan. His fans are probably sick of me saying on this podcast by now. But tell people why you feel like your style of him is very similar to your game.
Yeah, Michael Grabner, man, he's a good guy I like to look at in the off season, especially. He's always working. He's a speed guy, and that's what I bring to the table. You know, I'm not a bruiser. You know, I'll take hits here and there, but my game is, you know, speed and just really getting on the, you know, pressure, PK. So Michael Grabner is always someone I look at when I look at, you know, a speed guy, a roll guy, but also can put the puck in the net when he needs to. If
the NAHL had a speed fastest skater competition because Michael Grabner won at the NHL, would you win at the NAHL level? And you can be cocky. It's okay if you say yes.
I think it'd be close, but yeah, I think I'd be top 3. No doubt.
That's what I like to hear.
No doubt.
That's confidence. That's not cockiness, folks. That's confidence.
Yes, sir.
All right. So support for the Blizz Show podcast brought to you by our friends here out at H&R Block here in town. This is another segment of the part where you guys know I love to tell you guys about H&R Block. Now, you guys know the tax reform is definitely going to affect every next tax return. If you don't want to be surprised next tax time next year, visit H&R Block to find out how it's going to affect you. Now, if you're in the Brookings and Watertown area, new clients can go visit Wayne and be sure to tell him the voice of the Blizzard sent you. That's Weston, sent for 25% discount on your first tax preparation. H&R Block is located at Brookings at the University Mall. For more information, call 605-692-5715. Again, that's 605-692-5715. Now time for the rapid fire segment, which we love to do. The boys have had a lot of fun with this. Johnson had a lot of fun with this a few days ago. So what we're going to do is 5 questions. He has not seen these questions. He's going to fire them right off the bat. First thing that comes to mind. So question number 1, other than hockey. Now, I know you're a pretty big athletic guy, and you like a lot of different sports.
Yes,
but
sir.
if there was one sport that you could play at the highest level, like at a high level, what would that be?
Basketball.
Basketball?
Yeah,
okay.
100%.
How tall are you?
5'10".
5'10". Interesting. You'd have to be the point guard or the shooting guard.
I'd have to be the point guard, yeah. But I think basketball is an awesome sport.
So who's your player comparison in basketball?
My favorite player is Steph Curry. So
That's
something like someone like him or Kyrie.
Similar
just
size.
shifty little guy, but can shoot.
Similar size. I like it.
For sure.
Okay, so an odd question, a little bit weird. We kind of throw these odd questions at these guys. Is going to the movies alone acceptable? Can you go to a movie alone?
I think it's acceptable, and my answer is just because I think alone time is very, very important in someone's life. I'm an introvert myself, so I like to be away from people. So I don't think it's weird that I'm not gonna personally do it, but it's not weird.
And it also depends on the genre of the movie too.
100%.
And that would be now. I got to think about this. If there was one I'd go see alone, I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
Whether it's an action movie or I think that's what it would have to be. In my own personal book, that's what it would be. Okay. Favorite binge TV show to watch on Netflix, Hulu? What's your favorite TV show to watch?
I'd say It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite.
I do need a new show to watch. Would you recommend that?
I would recommend that,
Okay.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Everybody on the team has said The Office is a possibility. So
Yeah, I've never been an Office guy myself.
Really?
Nah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now, best arena in the NHL that you've been to watch a game, and obviously Scott Trade is in there, and that's where you're headed.
Yeah, Scott Trade Center for sure. I'm a hometown boy, so I really like the Blues, and as you know, I've been a fan since I've been old enough to watch hockey. But so I'm a little biased.
One of these days, one of you guys are going to say Gila River Arena and the Coyotes, and I'm going to give you a big old hug after this. That's one of these days it's going to happen. Last question here. Since you're an Illinois kid, this is a question I asked Johnson a few days ago. Since he's from Illinois, the question has to be asked, the $1 million question, and whoever else is from Illinois is going to get this question. So prep up, boys, if you're watching this. New York or Chicago-style pizza?
Chicago, all day.
There's another example of the homeritism and the biasness, folks. But that's okay. He gets a pass. And that is good deep dish pizza. I do like that.
It's very good.
What place in if I'm going to Chicago, where do I need to go to get the best?
Giordano's. Yeah.
Giordano's.
Yeah, 100%.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, write that down.
Let me write that down. Like Mark Giordano?
Nah, I think it's just Giordano's. I don't think Mark Giordano has anything.
No, like the spelling of the name.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same spelling.
Okay, I'll make sure I got that. That's written down on my paper. Sweet. That's perfect. Okay, we appreciate Tyler taking some time out of his day to come talk with us. Before we let you go, Tyler, we want to make sure we got your social media platforms out there so guys can go follow you. Where can everybody follow you on Twitter and Instagram?
Twitter, Instagram, it's the same thing. It's Tyler Hinterser, no space, no upper letters, just TYLERHINTERSER.
I will openly admit that when I first saw his last name, I wasn't sure exactly how to pronounce it, and I've been waiting all this time to ask him, and since he's already said it, now I know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Tyler Hinterser.
Hinterser. Just sound it out, and you're good.
That's perfect for the broadcast. I better not screw that up in December.
Can't do it.
Okay. Is Mom or Dad going to email me with a complaint?
They could. They might. But
how often do people mess up your name?
Oh, every day of my life.
Every day of your life?
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Since I messed it up, I'm a part of that. I'm a part of that group.
It's
so you know what?
It's tough.
It's okay. Perfect. That's Tyler Hinterser, folks. He'll be back in action in December after his back surgery. Resiliency at its highest form, folks. Make sure you guys come out to Larson Ice Center to see him here in December. That'll do it for this episode of the Blizz Show podcast. Tyler Hinterser, Weston DeWitt. We're out. See ya.